Yeah, Max Keiser, this is the Keiser Report. Stacy?
Right. Well, Max, do you know that on Monday we are going to see Tesla enter the S&P 500, which is a remarkable achievement from just even a year ago at this time?
Oh, yeah. No, this is definitely a huge story. And there's just so many moving parts to it, and it is a reflection of where we are on the stock market, where we are in the business cycle, where we are in the, there's just so many, many layers to it. What particularly about this intrigues you, Stacy?
Well, we're going to look at a few items, but the thing that really stands out to me is, we've been recording from home during COVID and these global lockdowns and economic lockdown, and that there actually hasn't been much economic activity, and people are getting used to being just paid to stay at home, and they're demanding modern monetary theory, the MMT, free money for everybody. And so let me start with a quote from Elon Musk that Bruce Fenton tweeted out. And it's in the context of today and having to produce stuff. The idea you can just send checks out and everything will be okay is wrong. People have an idea that the economy is a magical cornucopia, a horn of plenty that resources flow from. Let me just break it down for the fools. If you don't make stuff, there is no stuff.
Well, this is ironic, I guess, on a couple of different levels, right? So the Tesla stock is worth, last I checked, roughly $600 billion. And I would say that $560 billion worth of that valuation comes from exactly what he's saying he's trying to avoid, money printing, right? If there wasn't the money printing and if you weren't able to get stuff from just money printing, the cornucopia of money printing, then Tesla stock would be 90% cheaper. But because there is this huge gusher of money printing that's coming out of the central banks, and because Tesla has nothing working against it, because it's not producing anything like a Toyota or a Ford or some other company where you could look at the actual products in a meaningful context of the global economy and ascribe a value to it. You can simply say that, well, we think that Tesla as a meme, which is mostly a meme, and fiat money is a meme, so we're going to make it worth $600 billion today, and it could drop 90% tomorrow. There's nothing there. It's just it's captured the imagination. Now, full disclosure, I bought some Tesla last year, and I'm up 800%, and I'll still hold on to it because I don't have any reason to think that the mania driving Tesla is going to end anytime soon. Because this is the economy that we're in. But his comment is kind of ironic because he says if you want stuff, you need to make stuff. But if he was actually making stuff, the stock would be 90% cheaper.
Right. There's Tesla, but there's also SpaceX and Starlink. So he has been during this COVID lockdown. You see all these advances coming from China, as we was covered recently with Dan Collins in the Keiser Report. You see these nonstop new things like that nuclear-powered sun, artificial sun. With SpaceX, you've seen several launches this year. You've also seen all the satellites being launched. So he is doing stuff. It's just not that the ordinary person can't participate because those are privately held companies. So he's getting to do that. Now with this, with the publicly owned company, Tesla, he seems to do the least amount of work that is needed, and he gets to live off of the meme that he is in the rest of the economy.
Right. The reason it's valued so high is because he doesn't make a lot of stuff.
Yes.
At scale. If he made the same number of cars as Chrysler or Mercedes-Benz,
Toyota, number one,
then the stock would be 90% cheaper. The fact that he doesn't make stuff is why the stock is so high.
Right. Well, we're going to go into that because in this next headline from wolfstreet.com, he talks about that Tesla shares are up 677% just this year, 2020 alone, which is outperforming even Bitcoin this year. So, that does create bitterness in people who don't hold any. And, I personally don't own it. So Max does.
Right. When I saw him on Joe Rogan's show originally, he was making fun of the SEC, and he was participating in some behavior that some would consider inappropriate. And that's when I doubled down, and because I figured this is the perfect capitalist for the 2020 era. This is the perfect guy, and this stock is just going to go crazy.
Well, the PE ratio is 1,220 at the current moment, and the market cap, yes, is almost $600 billion. 578 billion. There's Tesla compared to Toyota, Volkswagen, Daimler, GM, BMW, Honda, and Ford. So as big as all of those combined, they will be on Monday the 6th largest company in the S&P 500 after Amazon, Google, Apple, and that sort of company.
Right. I suppose you could think about Tesla as an emerging play in the homelessness crisis, because I can imagine folks basically living in their auto-driven Teslas, having nothing else, and then they are going to plug into the Gulag Casino, as I've described it, clicking ads to survive, to get a few more electrical volts to power your Tesla for another couple of miles. So the insectualization of humanity could be enabled by Tesla. And if you get a piece of all that, there's $270 trillion in debt in the world, and there's, that's all been printed. That's like almost all of that's been printed in the last 10 years, really. So this is worth almost, $0.75 trillion in a global with 270 trillion. There's no reason why the stock couldn't be $10 trillion. And in this kind of environment, Bitcoin, because it's absolutely scarce and has properties that are gold, but much better, yes, Bitcoin can get to $10 to $20 trillion in valuation. That is a dead certainty. I am sure of it. Tesla, because it's more fad-driven, like the hula hoop or silly putty, right? I mean, the market can move pretty quickly, and you could see a 90% drop. Hopefully, it won't happen in an hour, because I want to be able to capture at least some of that gain.
Right. Well, in the meantime, this is what the chart is showing, and this is according to WolfStreet.com, the quadruple chart of the new year. This goes back to 2018. That was the nice time to buy some, when it was down below $80.
Well, remember, everyone hated it back then.
Yes.
Because it was, he's just getting green credits, and it's a mirage, and it's a fake, and we're going to short it, and all the short sellers were pounding it with the short sales, and they hated it. Everyone hated it down at that price. They love it up here near 600 billion.
Well, this is where all the haters really got slaughtered, the short sellers. This company, Tesla, had so many short sellers, like groups, online groups, short selling it and trying to gather photographic evidence that there were no cars actually being delivered. And that was a debacle, this company. So that's when he came out. Remember, he tried to fight the short sellers, and he came out with a tweet saying that the Saudis were going to buy it at $420 and take it private. And the price back then was like under $200, and then he had to apologize to the SEC or whatever. But obviously that would have been a good deal had they bought it for $420, because it continued to go up, and it's over $600.
There's a great lesson in that, how he mocked the SEC.
Yes.
Openly mocked the SEC. Just made monkeys of the Securities and Exchange Commission. People in the Bitcoin community need to keep this in mind. The SEC is nothing that a well-placed phone call can't fix, if you know what I mean. And this is exactly what we've seen with Tesla. And he's also selling stock at these high prices. Yeah, so he's just selling stock out there, and his balance sheet's zooming higher and higher based on this stock mania. And demand understands where we are in the current cycle of fiat money. There is literally hundreds of trillions of dollars you can pick. If you're not a millionaire, really ask yourself what the problem is at this point.
Well, I mean, you have a combination of things, right? So COVID lockdowns started right about here before it started to soar. So what happened then? You can't go to the movies. You can't go see the feature films. You can't see a big story. You can't dream. You can't have the American dream. You can't fantasize, right? This is a fantasy, and people are involved in it, and they get to see. That's one thing we get to see. And I have to say, SpaceX, I think the glory and the stuff he's done with SpaceX has kind of spilled over into his Tesla stock. So he does they do amazing productions with their live streams of the SpaceX launches that they've done. And it's really tense. People are gripped by it. It's unifying the nation. It's unifying the world. He's not just, he has multiple citizenships and multiple, huge factories around the world. So he's a global story, and he's something positive that has happened this year. So that, from Hollywood Stock Exchange, that sort of buzz and good vibe and dreaming, he's enabling people to dream during these dark times.
Well,
so
again, he put the SpaceX on a separate entity that's not included in Tesla, and the rockets blow up in SpaceX. If SpaceX were included in Tesla, the stock wouldn't be as high as it is now either, because of all these rockets blowing up. People would get, oh my gosh, I'm going to short sell this one, right? The fact that all the risk of the rocket blow up are in a separate entity off in another company, I mean, that's another genius move.
But it's still glamorous, and that's how I believe, that's my feeling, that's why you own Tesla, and it's done well. And I think you did it because of the glamour of Elon Musk and the story he sells. And it doesn't matter if it's real or not, because in fact, Tesla has a market share of the global passenger vehicle market of about 1%. It's just a small automaker. But Tesla's market cap of $578 billion is now about equal to the combined market cap of Toyota and Lexus, Volkswagen, which is VW, Audi, Porsche, and many other brands, Daimler, GM, BMW, Honda, and Ford, which is an amazing sight. And they note that, he's raised about close to $15 billion in just the past few months. So he's coining it. And that does protect him from those short sellers, because at that time last year, when he was confronting the short sellers, they were short of cash. They were running out of cash in terms of keeping their enterprise going. But now they have enough for quite a while.
Well, they've got cash. Plus, the thing that really hurts short sellers would be to introduce a dividend.
Do you think he might introduce a dividend?
Well, that's the way to fight the short sellers, because the short sellers have to pay the dividend. So that's one way to fight short selling. So he's got a lot of cash. He could pay a dividend.
Now, I want to quickly move at the end here to this other story, because you mentioned Joe Rogan podcast. And this is something for everybody in the audience to watch, because, you've been able to watch Keiser Report for 12 years now, and the likes of Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has been amazing at covering the Elon Musk story. He's covered coronavirus. And this article points out that he's interviewed some people who are conspiracy theorists regarding coronavirus. But we watched the one where he interviewed the world expert of Osterholm, he's in Minnesota. He's a professor there, and he's now under the Biden administration taking over the coronavirus task force as well. So here is The Guardian, which is progressive, left-wing in the United Kingdom. And just to see what's coming forward, and a Biden administration and the left in charge are very authoritarian in terms of free speech. Sinister sounds. Podcasts are becoming the new medium of misinformation. So they're basically agitating to have the likes of Joe Rogan taken down and not given free rein to be distributed to people online. And I do want to say, this is the same exact outlet that you could still go. You can go right now, do your own research, check this out, go Google it. Guardian still has on their website from 2018, Manafort held secret talks with Assange in Ecuadorian embassy, sources say. That's still up there. It's been disproven by Mueller, by all the investigations in the Senate. Manafort himself, who gave evidence to the investigators. It's already been debunked, but they refuse to take it down. So anybody looking to do research on this whole Russiagate period of time, they would still get this misinformation. And there's no correction, no warning sign that this has been debunked.
Right. Well, if you're reading The Guardian, have fun being poor. All right, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, much more coming your way. Welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. Time now to go to Chris Tramount of Scarce.City. Chris, welcome to the Keiser Report.
Max, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, what is Scarce.City? The name is awesome. Why did you build it?
Scarce.City is a marketplace for selling Bitcoin goods with Bitcoin and with Bitcoin technology. We built it because as I got wrapped into the Bitcoin rabbit hole, I was gravitated towards the creative aspect of Bitcoin. And, as I took Bitcoin to its logical conclusion, I realized that some of this art that was being created by these artists would age to become iconic and relics of the early stages of our Renaissance here. And then I saw some of my favorite Bitcoin artists selling their works for Ether. And you don't have to be a maximalist to realize that doesn't feel right. So I wanted to create another solution that was more authentic to Bitcoin. So we came up with some test products. We did a test sale, and we've been able to attract a great community from there who's helped us come up with some amazing ideas, and things are going really well so far.
Can I sell some of my ties on Scarce.City?
Oh, we can absolutely set that up.
All right, great. All right, so now for those in the audience who don't know what it is, what is Lightning Network and why did you choose to build on Lightning Network?
The Lightning Network is a protocol built on top of Bitcoin to instantly, anonymously settle Bitcoin payments with minimal fees. We decided to build on top of it because we created a first of its kind auction that used Bitcoin or Lightning payments to instantly, anonymously collateralize auction bids with minimal fees. So the way this works is if you want to bid on an auction, you put in how much you want to bid. We give you a Lightning invoice to pay that represents a small percentage of that bid amount. And once the auction is over, the highest bidder has 24 hours to pay the remaining balance of their bid. If they fail to pay it, they lose their collateral, and the next highest bidder has their chance to pay. As soon as the item's paid for, all remaining participants get their collateral back.
So you come to this from the perspective of a technologist primarily who is also interested in art, or you have an art background and you came into it through Bitcoin that way?
Primarily through technology. I've been working on tech startups for over 10 years. And it was really Bitcoin that got me into art because I started really realizing the significance of the moment we were in, and art is the most pure expression of that.
That's a fascinating statement to make, really. I think it is a Renaissance 2.0, and we explore that quite extensively in our Orange Pill podcast every Sunday. Now, you launched into the world with an auction for an amazing work of the art from Chief Monkey and Mosaic Rocks that Keiser Report will highlight in our end of the year special. It's called Relentless Optimism. Tell us about the auction and what did you learn from it?
The work of art is absolutely stunning. It's a Bitcoin phoenix clutching a physical Bitcoin. It's inspired by the 1988 Economist magazine cover that asks, "Are you ready for a world currency?" This has become a meme within the Bitcoin circles, and Chief Monkey and Mosaic Rocks, they gave it perfect justice with their beautiful mosaic representation of it. The auction, it was our first Lightning auction, went really well. We didn't know what to expect. We battle tested this product the best we could, but you never know until you throw it out into the wild. And over the course of 3 days, we had 19 bidders who placed 53 bids. And the total amount bid was almost equal to 7 Bitcoin. And the final winning bid was exactly 1 Bitcoin. So it exceeded our expectations across the board. There were many times in the final hour where it felt like the auction was going to end and a last second bid would come through and extend the auction timer by another 15 minutes. So it was a real thriller.
For years now, we've heard that Bitcoin suffers from a scaling issue. It can't scale. That there's no second layer. Of course, the developers at Bitcoin were like, look, we're creating the scarcest item, the scarcest item in the history of the universe, really. And so we have to take our time with it. Are we now past that? Are we now basically Bitcoin could do anything any other altcoin, including Ethereum, can ever do or will ever do? Are we now kind of like past all the FUD?
I think we're certainly going in the right direction. This is software built on top of Bitcoin, so security is top priority. Of course, we won't ever move as fast as the least secure coins out there. But when we do build on top of Bitcoin, it's going to be secure and it's going to be something we can be confident in. Lightning Network specifically has come really far since we started working with it just over the past 6 months. In the beginning, it was difficult to set up a Lightning wallet. You could only do payments that were under $100 in value. For our auction, we had collateral payments up to $400 in Bitcoin, and they were executed flawlessly. So every day it gets easier and easier. It reminds me of the early days of using the internet. Using AOL Instant Messenger was a terrible experience in the beginning, but this is software. There is a committed and really intelligent community that's building this software, and it's just going to improve over time.
Well, you make a good point there that once you leave Bitcoin, the trade-off is security. And that can get very bad very quickly, including with Ethereum, which has had multiple hacks over the years. And who knows how many of them are there? They've never been an audit. So anything on there, I would say, would qualify as insecure. And with Bitcoin, of course, you've got the best and the most secure. Now, there's another application out there, Sphinx.chat, which is helping to monetize podcasts by the second. Are you familiar with them?
I am. Yeah, I tested it out.
Tell us a little bit about it. What's been your experience? Because this is really fascinating stuff.
Lightning, it's about much more than just peer-to-peer micropayments. It unleashes a whole new toolkit for app developers. And one of those is being able to stream content as well as being able to send communication through a payment that is built on top of the native privacy of the Lightning Network. And Sphinx Chat has tapped into both of these capabilities. First, by creating a chat app, and I believe a video app that sends messages over the Lightning Network in a way that's as private as I believe you can get, and also by streaming content, specifically podcast content. And this is just the beginning, I think, of what's possible when it comes to content and communication using the Bitcoin stack, like the Lightning Network.
Yeah, I mean, with Bitcoin, all it takes is a few bucks and you're a millionaire in Satoshis. You've got millions of Satoshis to play with, and now you've got potentially billions of people around the world. And an artist can come around and create something that catches the imagination of the world. And instead of the social networking companies like Facebook and Twitter and the others capturing all that revenue from all that traffic, it goes directly to the artist who can monetize their art through the viral sensation of their art with Satoshis, with Bitcoin. And the loser in all this would be the intermediaries and those people that are gatekeepers that, you know, I'm not against making money, but they've abused their power into the realm of censorship, which is unfortunately stepped over the constitutional bounds that they should be, they should be obeying those barriers. So is this ultimately a free speech issue as well?
Well, I think absolutely. Censorship is going to become more and more of an issue as we delve deeper into the information age. It's just the way it's going to be, and we need to have technologies that empower the individuals. It's the same technology that allows the Venezuelan government to do corrupt acts, that also allows the citizens of Venezuela to leave the country while retaining their wealth. So it's totally democratized across the board. And like any technology, it's going to have its good and evil, but at the end of the day, it's necessary.
You know, there's so many folks in the millennials and the Gen Z who are out in the streets protesting, and they rallying around the cause of being woke in some way. They've taken the red pill and they aren't going to take it anymore. But what should those people just be buying Bitcoin at this point as the best form of civil disobedience imaginable to defund the powers that they are protesting against, Chris?
That's what got me into it. I was watching the global markets and early 2010s and seeing central bankers around the world just kicking the can down the road. It became clear that they were not going to quit printing money. And I started realizing the societal implications of this, specifically of inequality. And it made me angry, first of all, just to see it happen, but then especially angry to feel as an investor that I was forced to fund this system, which I didn't believe in. That's kind of what opened me up and prepared me to be ready for Bitcoin. So when, it came back on the scene in 2016, 2017, I was ready for it. And you're absolutely right. It's a protest of consequence. Continuously, we have these uprisings where people hit the streets and it makes headlines for a little bit, or we have a new election and people get the chance to vote on a new politician, but that doesn't change the underlying dynamics of the system. Bitcoin is the first technology that I've experienced that allows us to actually take power away from the system we don't agree with and put our power into a system that has a chance to be more fair for everybody.
Yeah, I'm looking at the various generations that have come around. There was the boomers, then there was Gen X, then we get into millennials and Gen Z. The Gen X crowd, of course, had cultural touchstones like Clueless was a film that came out, or Slackers. They kind of prided themselves in not really knowing anything. But it seems that when you get to the millennials and the Gen Z, they're like, wait a minute, the boomers stole everything, and now we need to get it back. Is that, do you see this generation gap? And we've got about 10 seconds.
There's only one chart that matters, and that is the inequality rising in the world. And as long as that continues to widen, the social unrest is only going to increase with it. So we absolutely need a solution, and Bitcoin is our best option.
Chris Tramount, thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report.
Thank you, Max.
All right, and that's going to do it for this edition of Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacy Herbert. I'd like to thank our guest, Chris Tramount of Scarce.City. Until next time, bye, y'all.